Conor Gaffney and Caroline, thanks for speaking to Rockfiend. How are you?
I'm good. How are yourself?
Not bad at all, Conor. We're getting there. We're battling on as hopefully things return to a bit of normality again.
Aye, I know. No, I know. It's good to be trying. Hopefully, it's good to be kind of going back and gigging and things moving in the right direction.
Absolutely, and we'll get to that obviously in a while. You did your first gig at the weekend there in a long time, so we'll chat about that just a bit later on. But just to bring people up to speed of where you've been and where Anne Caroline have been, obviously throughout the pandemic, we got all the way back a year and a half to January 2020. You released your debut album, Casino.
Aye, that's right. So 31st of January. I'll try and say that again. Released our debut album, Casino, which we had been writing for going on 2 years before its release, and it did really well. Hit number 9 in the UK rock and metal charts. We got some chart positioning in the independent and in the vinyl charts as well. So for a debut album from a band who's albeit not particularly well known, but in the grand scheme of things, it was a pretty good result for us, and we were absolutely over the moon. And things were starting to really move in the right direction for us, and then everyone knows what happened next. COVID hit, and it all got pulled to a stop.
So just remind me, Conor, I'm trying to think back. Did you actually manage any gigs at all before the kind of February-March lockdowns?
Yep. So we released on the 31st of January. We played 2 or 3 shows in Scotland. We played Dundee, Bathgate. Dundee and Bathgate, I think, was the 2 we played. We might have played another one. It's hard to remember back to that now. Played a few dates in Scotland to kind of, sort of wet the head of the album. And then we went down to Buckley and where was the other one? Sunderland with Massive Wagons. Played a couple of shows with them. Yep. So that was good exposure for the album. We got a lot of sales that way. A lot of t-shirts sold. When you play with a band like Massive Wagons, it's a great audience to play to, because if they haven't heard you, they're there to hear the new bands. You play with some bigger bands and they're there to see that band. They're really there to see the opening acts. Whereas you play with bands like Massive Wagons, Those Damn Crows, and you are, Stonebroken being another one that we've played with, where the guys who go to see, or the folk who go to see those bands, do want to see the opening acts, because they think because that's how they found those bands in the first place.
Absolutely.
So they have that kind of, who are we going to discover next kind of thing, and then they support you with everything and they buy everything. So it's fantastic to play with those bands and to kind of meet those people as well.
Well, I just when you're talking about that, people who go to catch new bands, I actually first met you guys. I actually can't remember exactly. I think it was maybe September 2016. It might be the year before. It was round about 16, I think. You were back in Key Marcello.
Yeah.
You're the guitarist. Now, I think it was stereo. You might correct me on that, but I think it was stereo.
It was audio underneath the bridge.
Right. It was. Oh, they're quite close by them, so I wasn't far off.
Similar names as well.
And that's when I first caught you guys, and I came in. I think there wasn't too many people in at that point in the gig, but I was actually going to be interviewing Key, and that's why I was in quite early. I caught you guys, and you were absolutely fantastic that night. And maybe 5 years ago now. And then at that time, you had a live recorded album that you had. You were selling, or you weren't selling it. You were giving it away actually that night. And not long after that, I had long into the annals of history for me. I had a wee radio show at the time, local radio, and actually played a couple of live tracks from that.
That's right.
So really, you were a band that caught my attention quite early on, and probably unexpected. I probably didn't expect to go in and find a band that I'd still be listening to and very much supporting these days, which shows the strength really of the musical talent you guys have. So obviously that's great that then continued years later into such a strong performance with the debut album.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, it's funny to think back. Not even in the grand scheme of careers that bands have, it's not that long ago. But for us, like, we played that show 2016. Like, we're all like in our early 20s. I think even a couple of us might not have even been in our 20s at that point. That. To think back to that now does feel like we're a much different band now. We're much different people. you know, some of the members that were in the band at that point aren't even in the band anymore. You know, and that's kind of the natural progression of bands sometimes as well, you know. So yeah, but it's nice that you bring that up actually, and it's nice to think back on times like that as well.
Well, I was quite lucky in that I got an advanced copy of the album from I think it was Peter Noble through Rockfiend, so I was able to get quite an early review out of it. I think actually long before January last year. I was just going to read out about some that I'd put in that review, Conor. One of the things that I'd mentioned in it is, like all bands, Anchor Lane have their musical influences. As I've mentioned several times throughout this review, Chris Cornell and Soundgarden must be intertwined somewhere in the band's DNA. So when you look at the recording of that album, am I talking nonsense there, or is that a kind of influence? Because it seemed to be a mix of influences in it.
I mean, there was a lot of influence in that band. I think that's the thing. You're not wrong saying Chris Cornell and Soundgarden. You know, that's a band that we all, you know, we all really, you know, there's a big kind of like middle ground with us all. We've all got but you know, kind of big different influences. You know, at the time, you know, you've got Lawrence, who's, as much as he's got the whole shred metal thing as well, but he's also, you know, very into artists like John Mayer as well, you know, and like kind of singer-songwriter stuff. And then he's also into like 90s and noughties pop anthems as well. You know, and then you've got Matthew, who's a big Jeff Buckley fan, and he loves like the Doors and kind of different you know, artists like that. But then also the middle ground being, you know, the grunge influence and a lot of the kind of post-grunge bands as well, and a lot of rock bands that kind of came out in the kind of, you know, 2010s and kind of beyond then as well. So no, you're definitely not wrong to say Chris Cornell and Soundgarden. And for me personally, Chris Cornell is a massive influence as a vocalist and as a songwriter. Yep. You know, with everything he did, whether it was his solo stuff, Soundgarden, Audioslave, Temple of the Dog, everything. Yeah.
He's certainly an artist I think anyone that really enjoys their music will miss.
Yes, absolutely.
So again, get back to the album. For a debut album, you were lucky to work with some big names. You had Toby Jepson, Little Angels, Wayward Sons producing, and you obviously worked on a track with Ricky Warwick as well. The Almighty were a band that I loved in my younger days, so it's great to see another young band from Scotland working with someone who's such a big legend in the Scottish circuit. Let's be honest with you, that's right. Circuit. So how did these connections come about?
Well, so the one with Ricky, which was one, I'll start with that one because that's the one that happened first, was him, Ricky and our manager go way back when Ricky was in the Almighty, and then and our manager who looks after Wet Wet Wet, you know, just kind of knew him through the Glasgow circuit, and then also through playing in bands himself when he was younger, and so he kind of mentioned to us saying, listen, you know, I'm quite friendly with Ricky Warwick. You know, he came through the Glasgow music circuit. I think it may be a good experience for you to write songs with him. You know, he's obviously writes for Black Star Riders now. He's played with Thin Lizzy. You know, he was in the Almighty. He's got his own solo thing. He's a very accomplished songwriter. I think it would be very beneficial for you. And obviously, we were like, wow. And I especially was like, wow, I seen him play in the Barrowlands with Thin Lizzy when I was about 14. So it was a massive moment for us to do that. So that's how that came about, you know, and Ricky came in at the studio and was, you know, just one of the boys. Like, you know, it's that way where you're thinking, does this guy come from LA? He's big time. And then he comes in and he's, you know, we're talking about, you know, what team do you support and this, that, the next thing. And do you know what I mean? You're just sat there having a laugh, you know, having a couple of beers and writing songs.
So he actually came across to the studio. It wasn't done with him in Los Angeles and you guys here. He actually went.
No, so he came to our studio. So we've got a wee studio that we've got in the city centre, and he was doing a documentary over in Ireland with the BBC, and so I think he managed to kind of swindle it with the BBC that he was going over to Scotland after, like, he was saying, you know, and so he came over to Scotland after doing that, and you know, hung out with us for the weekend and wrote some songs.
Great. There's no many bands say that someone will get their way like that to come across and work with them.
No, and it was really, really nice of them to do that. And you know, we've all kind of, you know, as much as like it was a great experience, we've also, you know, got a friend out of it as well, because he's someone that, you know, still can't keep in contact. I'll try and say that again, man. Goodness sake, sorry. we still keep in contact with each other and still, give each other messages. I think he went in for surgery on a hernia not too long ago, and he gave me messages to see he was all right, and he came back to me saying, his eyes recovering and whatever else. So yeah, it's one of those ones where it's more than just someone we've worked with at this point, which is nice. And then with Toby, we were looking for a producer, and we didn't really know anyone, and we wanted someone who had good experience, who had, didn't necessarily need to have a big name on them, but someone who we could hear what they'd done previously, and we heard what Toby had done with a few bands that we knew, and coincidentally we were playing Winterstorm with Wayward Sons, and so our manager Dougie said, let's try and get a wee conversation with Toby at some point. And I hadn't seen him yet. I'd spoken to Sam, the Wayward Sons guitarist, and said, oh, look, we're maybe thinking of speaking to Toby about doing some production. And Sam was like, absolutely, man. He was like, he'd be great for you guys. And, he hears things that people don't hear, and all these, all these kind of things, all the things you want to hear about a producer. And so then I come out of the wee backstage area, and there's my manager Dougie cornered Toby, right, Anchor Lane, producing. And so I spoke to Toby, and obviously he was, I don't know, have you met Toby?
I've met him a couple of times. I wouldn't say I know. I've certainly met him a couple of times.
He's a lovely guy, and first moment you meet him, he's very, very polite, and but very upfront as well. And and he kind of said to us, he was like, look, I only work with bands that I feel passionate about, that I feel like there's something with the music that I can contribute to. He said, so I'll have a listen to your demos, send them over to me, I'll have a listen, and if there's something I feel that I can contribute, then I'll absolutely do so, which I was very happy to hear, because the thing is that I wouldn't want him to work with us just because he's going to make a bit of money out of it. It's got to be artistic, and you've got to have, if there's one component of the process that's not fully into it and not fully throwing their passion into it as well, which is, the producer essentially is throwing their passion into it as well as the band is, then you come out with something that's not, that's not going to be fully authentic.
So, and obviously that's something that you felt you were able to do with Toby, and ultimately when you get the success of the album, it worked a treat.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the thing. So, Toby came back to us, obviously saying, like it. I'll definitely up for working with you guys. Came in, he came up to Glasgow on the 2nd of January, and we had some dinner. He came out to the studio with us the day after, and we had our first sort of pre-production, get to know each other, see if we like working with each other sort of session. And so we just played him every single song we had written at that point, which was about 20 odd songs. And he literally just sat with like a whiteboard that we had with all the songs and just kind of went, yes, no, change this, change that, that's good, everything else needs rewritten. And like, some of the songs, it was like turn it on its head, like totally change it about. And that the fact that he was able to kind of issue challenges like that, just like our songwriting had already been elevated from working with Ricky, and then Toby just took it a step up from there again, and really pushed us to think beyond the initial writing of the song. So yeah, it was an invaluable experience to work with both Ricky and with Toby.
And I think it's fair to say then, when you're working with such a couple of big names like that, and particularly when we look at Toby, that first time you met him in the studio and the pre-production side, did it give you a new sense of drive to go on after that, to really make that album something special?
Absolutely. I think the thing is that, with it being a debut album, and with us having still at that point being a very new band, and having, at that point, Lawrence hadn't even been in the band for a year. Lawrence had been in the band, what was that? Joined us in August 2018. So Lawrence had been in the band for 6 months, and we're like, right, we're writing the first album with someone who's brand new to the band. So you're still kind of finding your feet and still seeing what works. And Toby was fantastic at just coming in, because we had some songs that would have fit on an Alter Bridge record, and then other songs that would have fit on an Eagles record. Like, it was kind of like, everything was quite everywhere, but you're just trying things and experimenting. You've got a new member who has got these capabilities that very few musicians, have, and it's good to explore those things. But Toby was very good at kind of sitting down with us and going, right, okay, this is the sound you want to go for, like this alternative rock, grunge influenced sound. This is what you want to go for. He was like, and you can kind of just edge your way out of it here and there, but that's what you're good at. So let's write more like that. And it was just like a switch happened in us, and we ended up writing, what was it? Casino, Stone Cold Hearted, Shell of Me, Fame, Shame, and a couple, Honey, and a couple other tracks ended up getting written between January the 2nd and February the 27th, which was the last day we were able to write for the album before we headed down to record it. We ended up writing half the album in the space of like 6 weeks, which was just, bonkers. We've been writing it for 2 years, and we write most of and some of our favourite songs in the space of, not even 2 months.
So there was nothing left over for the New Beginnings EP then? Was it all completely new stuff? All
completely new. Yeah, that's the thing, because, obviously because we only had that EP and people would come to see us, there was songs that they knew that weren't recorded, and they were like, oh, is that going to be the album? Is that going to be the album? And we were like, sorry, like there was only 2 songs from the entire time before Casino that made it onto the album, and everything else unfortunately didn't quite make it. And the 2 songs that made it, 3 songs actually. 2 of the 3 songs that made it onto the recording process ended up being the 2 bonus tracks that we just released this year.
Right.
Cruel World and Found Out. If you want to check them out on Spotify, they're a wee streaming exclusive at this point.
Oh, I have to check that. So it's amazing the things that go on backstage at Winterstorm and Troon is what you're saying.
Yeah, aye. Do you want to produce us? Maybe. Are you any good?
So to then look at the release of the album and the reception it got from particularly up in Scotland. I know Tom Russell's obviously been a massive supporter of you guys.
Yeah.
So that's actually quite funny, because I always take the credit for telling Tom about you guys, by the way.
That's right. No, I remember you telling me, you're like, I've told Tom Russell, and I was like, thank you, because I've been trying to tell Tom Russell for ages and he doesn't reply to me.
It was I was interviewing Tom like this for a radio show, actually.
Oh, were you?
I mentioned it to him, and he says, Anchor Line. And it was like, no, Tom, Anchor Lane. It was a terrible phone reception. I was like, no, Anchor Lane. He says, Anchor Line. It's like, no, Lane. Can I went like that? And he eventually got it. He said, I'm going to write that down. And then not too long later, he was actually in his book tour. And he was down at the rock mecca of Auchinleck. Right. And I met him there again, and he says, I checked out that Anchor Lane. They're really good. Aye. So it took you to heart, which is great, because obviously when you're a young band, you need big names like Tom Russell to get behind you, and it helps to really get the message out.
It does. Well, the thing is, like, Tom Russell, I'm going to say, that man's the stamp of approval for bands in Scotland. Do you know what I mean? Not just bands from Scotland. Do you know what I mean? Like, you look at we read the back of it. I've got his book over there, actually. Like, you look in his book, and it's the bands that he's met over the years. Do you know what I mean? Ozzy Osbourne, Led Zeppelin, and then even current bands like Foo Fighters and Hailstorm and Alter Bridge and Blackstone Cherry. I think he's got a story in his book about, if I remember right, Blackstone Cherry were confused that they couldn't hunt deer while they were here or something like that. Like, he is a stamp of approval for rock bands around the world, and every big rock band has had a conversation with him. And the thing is as well, he's been an absolute champion for us, which is just amazing. It's amazing to have someone like that in your corner. Actually on that book tour, I remember we played, and it was West Lothian Guitar Services in Livingston. We ended up playing in there for one of Tom's book tours. Yeah. We ended up playing a gig, and then he was telling stories from the book afterwards, which was quite an unusual one. I've never opened for someone talking about their book before, and haven't since either.
But as you say, that's a massive endorsement for a young band, because Tom Russell, at the end of the day, he can't afford to endorse everyone. He's only going to endorse bands that he knows are good and that can have the potential to make it. So that was massive encouragement for you guys, then.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the names that he's putting you in with as well. Do you know what I mean? The Scottish bands who were kind of ahead of us at that point, the Hammerettes, King Lot, Mason Hill, and then Black King Cobra, who came after us. Do you know what I mean? And he really championed all those bands.
Mm-hmm. So then that's the album released. Everything's going well. And then obviously we all know what happened just kind of February, March last year. Everything shut down. And let's be honest, I know some gigs have started again, but we're really nowhere near getting the music industry fully up and running again. We've still got a bit to go. So obviously it would have hit you really, really hard. You've just released this album. You've only got a few gigs in. Everything stops from there. So what were you guys able to do during lockdown? Obviously you couldn't rehearse. Anything I dare say would be over Skype, things like this. So what did you actually manage to do, and what was probably nearly a year and a half, really, I suppose?
Yeah. Well, so the first thing we did, you know, when it all occurred, you know, it kind of occurred quite fast, because it was like 1 minute, you know, those kind of whispers of it, and I remember us being, you know, when we were playing the shows with Massive Wagons. I think actually when I came back from us playing those shows, I actually think I might have had COVID. I don't know. I'm not confirming that, but I was seriously unwell for a couple of weeks. Yeah, but there was kind of whispers of it about then, and you kind of, but it's that we were like, up until that point, you know, you've had that before, you know, oh, it was bird flu, swine flu, you know, there was the whole Ebola thing that people were talking about for a while, and as much as, you know, it kind of spread, it didn't get to the point that this has got to, where like the entire country's locked down, you can't go anywhere, you can't see your pals, can't see your family, you know, can't go to gig, can't do anything. It never hit that point before, so you're kind of like, I don't know about you, but we were all kind of just like, well, I'll probably just pass over the same way everyone else has, and, you know, we'll contain it the way we always do, because modern medicine's so great. And then, you know, that wasn't the case this time. But the first thing we did was we went, right, everybody keep their families safe. You know, everyone's got someone they need to look after. So, you know, we stopped going to the studio, and we all kind of like just went to the studio on our own, and kind of took any kind of valuables that we had, like our amps and our guitars and things like that, so that, you know, should someone be opportunistic, they're not going to get anything from the studio that's worth getting. You know, that was kind of the first thing we did. And then we had a wee group call maybe about a week in, because we were like, we'll give it a week, see how things are looking. And then obviously a week later it was like, you know, no change. So we thought, right, we'll have a wee chat. So we had a wee chat and said, right, okay, let's make a game plan. So we kind of brainstormed on things we can do to keep, you know, keep the fan base interested, keep things, you know, high, keep morale high, and keep ourselves busy, because now we're, you know, like we're full time with Anchor Lane, so it's like, okay, that's it, you know, nothing else is happening. And you know, now you've got you know, 24/7 nothing to do. So we kind of made a wee plan. You know, we did a wee bit of a podcast for a while. We did that. I think we did 4 or 5 episodes of that. And then we put together the Whiskey in the Jar cover with friends of ours from you know, over the UK, and Scott's brother Scott. We'll try that again, man. Goodness sake. Scott's brother Ken, who lives over in Jacksonville. So we did that, and that was quite good. And we did that for the Music Venue Trust, who obviously have done a lot of important work, keeping a lot of bands, keeping a lot of venues, afloat. So we did a bit of that, and then, you know, a lot of kind of, you know, I wrote a lot of stuff on my own, Lawrence wrote a lot of stuff in his own, and we were kind of sending things back and forth to each other. And yeah, that was kind of it through the kind of most intense period. And then when things started to open up in the summer again, last year, we started coming back into rehearse and started, you know, working together again in person, which was, you know, an amazing feeling to get back in and work on things again. So that was kind of the way that things went for us through lockdown. But the main thing we said to ourselves at the start was just like, keep moving, keep doing stuff, even if it's, you know, it might get quiet in the social media at times, it might get quiet, you know, between ourselves at times, but as long as everybody's still moving, and whether it's playing your guitar, or, you know, working on something else, or writing a song, or, you know, whatever it is, it's just about keep working. Don't, you know, try and make a positive out of something that's you know, quite an overwhelming negative at times. Yeah.
And of course, really, the music industry, could argue, it changed. Well, it had to change. It had no choice but to change for a year and a half there. You obviously had a lot of bands were doing things on, you know, online, live streams, that type of thing. There was some acoustic sets. An awful lot. In fact, Ricky Warwick did an awful lot of acoustic sets.
He did, yeah.
Right. Is that something that ever you guys kind of considered? Did you do any of them? There's nothing kind of...
We did a few.
Fairly recently, but...
Yeah, we did a live stream not too long ago. We did a couple of things. We did a lot of ones for free. There was a lot of ones that were like kind of online festivals for like charities and things like that. So we did a few of them. So we did a lot of that. But the thing with that is it takes so long. See, when you're all apart from each other, and like, you know, Scott's away recording his drums separately to us, and then that he's got to get that all sorted for him, all the camera angles and blah blah, and then sends it to me, and then I record my guitar, Matthew records his bass, and like, it was just such a big production. And then we send it in, and it's like, oh, we're like, you know, it took so long, and then it's like a wee 25-minute bit of a video, and you can't even try, like, you can do your best to try and get people interested in you, but it's not the same as a live gig where I'm able to get people to sing along, clap along, and you know, me and Lawrence's winning personalities are able to come across on stage, you know.
So then obviously and then during lockdown as well, you changed drummers. Scott left. That's and right. Graham came in.
Yes.
So is Graham someone that you'd had your eye on at some point before? He's someone you knew from the past, is what I mean. So was that an easy decision to approach him when it came to looking for a new drummer?
Yeah, so Scott left, and you know, that we had a gig in Blackpool that was going to be like the first gig that we'd played since the pandemic hit, and that was in September last year. And we're like, right, well, we're not cancelling that gig, so what we're going to do? We were like, right, okay, well, we'll get someone to session with us, and then we'll take it from there. So we gave a drummer called Logan White, who's a friend of the band, and you know, a really good drummer. So we had basically the two names that came to, you know, who's going to help us out, who's a potential, you know, next member of Anchor Lane, and it was Logan, who sessioned with us for the Blackpool show, and Graham as well. And so I basically left it up to the boys. Like, I was away on holiday at the time that everyone kind of kicked off, and so I was like, look, I knew Graham as a person. I'd never seen him drum. Lawrence had played in a band with him before, and I'd only kind of briefly met Logan at Download when we played in 2018. So I said to the boys, I was like, look, you both know them. You know both of them better than I do, so I'll leave that to you guys. And Lawrence was like, right, I've given Logan a wee phone. So Logan helped us out, and then we kind of came back and went through a wee kind of, you know, discussion. We thought, right, we'll audition Graham. You know, seeing as Logan's had the you know, as much as it might not seem like it was overly fair, one of them getting to play a gig with us and one of them auditioning with us, we were like, well, you know, we need to see what Graham's like as well. Mm-hmm. And Graham came in and absolutely nailed it. Like, just came in, knew every single track. Like, he knew the tracks on the album better than we did, because the way that we know them now is we know them how we play them live.
Yeah.
As opposed to how you know, they are on the record. So I feel like we'd go to finish a song, and like the one I remember was Stone Cold Hearted, and the way that ends, I think it's just, it kind of ends on a stop. It's like, you leave a broken hearted man, and that's the way it ends. But the way we end it live now is like, you leave a broken hearted man, and you kind of, like, you know, give a big finish. Kind of sounds like the end of November Rain. And we kind of went to do that practicing, and Graham's like, that's not how you finish it in the record. And we're like, oh, you know our songs better than us. So suffice to say, like, we played 2 or 3 songs with him, and we were like, he's just gonna absolutely nail all this. And then, you know, we already knew we got along with him because he'd helped us in a couple of gigs when we played with Cheap Trick. He helped us out doing a wee bit of tech work for us. So we knew him really well, and got along with him really well, and that was kind of it. We said to him, do you want to come in on a sort of you know, a kind of, we'll see how it goes basis for a few months, and then, you know, take it from there. And then we were like, do you know what, this guy's exactly what we need. Yeah. And so now he's a fully fledged member of Anchor Lane.
And was that his first proper gig with you just at the weekend there?
Yep, so that's it. He's been in the band for 10 months at this point, and just on Friday there we played our first gig with him and had our first drink with him as well. We hadn't had a drink with him, no.
And how did the gig go? So just for people catching up here, that was your first gig pretty much. You had the Blackpool gig obviously the September before. This really was the first kind of big gig back as such.
Yes.
Lockdown. So that was that the Wildfire Festival, was that right? Didn't it one like
No. So we had 2 gigs at the weekend. We did get a shout for Wildfire because I know that they had someone pull out last minute that kind of flagged up with COVID or whatever. But we were away down, and first gig was in Cumbria, and the second one was the Rock and Blues Custom Show in Derby.
Ah, right.
So the first gig we played on Friday was in Cumbria, and that was a secret festival.
I saw that.
So we weren't allowed to say where it was, what the name of it was, and that kind of thing. We could only say it was in Cumbria, and we just said it was Middle Earth, because we're big Lord of the Rings fans. So that was good. That was, I don't know what people were on at that festival, but it must have been good, man, because they were absolutely going off their nut. Yeah, great festival. I think, see, because it had that like quite exclusive thing to it.
Yeah.
There was a certain kind of, I don't know, it was like everybody there knew each other, and so they were just themselves. And they didn't even know any of our songs. Most of them had never heard of us before, because it wasn't like a rock festival, it was just a festival. It was like kind of, it's like one of those festivals where you've got a rock band on, then you've got a ska band, then you've got a punk band, then you've got, and it kind of just goes that way. And we were the headline on the Friday, and the only thing people knew about us is that we were from Glasgow and that we'd played Download.
Right.
And that was it. That's all they knew. But we came on stage and played our first song, and everyone was just going absolutely nuts from the first song to the last. And we don't tend to do encores. Like we don't really do that thing with, where you leave a few songs out and you go off stage and wait for people to clap you back on. We just find that to be a bit like, it's fine if you're you're free, or you're like a kind of big established band, the Rolling Stones or Guns N' Roses or whatever. Fair enough. Those bands have, went through the era where that was the done thing, and you kind of went back on with songs that you just kind of played. But for us, it's like, why purposely hold back songs that people want to hear just so they can clap you back on? It just seems a bit, just rubs us the wrong way. So we don't do it. But these guys were like, please, one more song, and we're like, we don't actually have any more songs. But we'll play the last song we played, but we'll play it double speed. And so they were like, yeah, do that. So we played Fame Shame twice as fast, which was fine until I got to the solo, and me and Lawrence were kind of looking at each other like, oh.
It looked like a great festival. I think that's what's made me think it was Wildfire. It looked almost in the middle of nowhere.
That's pretty much what it was. Yeah, it was just this big field. It's this guy, in the kind of village that it was in. I couldn't tell you what the village was. Probably not allowed to tell you what the village was. But he just kind of owns this big bit of land, and he's just kind of built like, wee kind of festival type areas. And I think he probably just rents it out for things like that. And but he was there, and he like let us into this wee like kind of shack they've got up the top that's got a bar and all that. And he was just saying, "Oh, just help yourself." So we're like pouring our own pints and all that, and. It was a real shame. I was driving in the morning, man.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh no.
The Rock and Blues Custom's a massive win as well. There's a lot of good bands have played that over the years. Is that the first time you've done that, or have you been to that before?
Yeah, we'd never been to that before. Been down in Derby for Download, obviously, but no, never been to the Rock and Blues Custom Show, which was I've never been around that many bikers before, man. That was cool, and you're just seeing all these really cool, Harley Davidsons and what was the other one I seen like a Kawasaki. What is it, a Kawasaki? Yeah, I can't remember the model again, but there was like those kind of bikes, and just it was crazy, man. And like I don't own a motorbike. I've never ridden on one, but I like the look of them. I think they look so cool. So we're just walking about going, this is amazing. And then we were the headline for their outdoor stage, which was cool as well. Like it was funny, like we've headlined one festival before, which was a while ago, Return of the Magnificent Seven festival in Dumfries.
All right.
But it's a fairly small festival in comparison to these two ones that we were doing, and it's like headlining two festivals, two stages of two festivals. In the one weekend was like bizarre. So we kind of got a wee backstage area and a nice wee spread, and beers, and there was a bottle of rum for us and all that, and like that was crazy.
He's a biker audience. You're doing well.
Yeah, man. Well, that's the thing. Like, and they are quite stern. Like we're kind of playing in the first few songs. I'm like, come on, you'll like us. Come on. But it's that way. We're like, the first couple of songs, you're like, are we ready? And they're kind of like, ugh. and you kind of need to, you kind of, by the end of it, people are cheering and they're clapping, but that's just part of the game. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes the crowd's with you from the first song, and then sometimes the crowd takes a wee bit of warming up. But I loved it. Loved being back gigging, man. It was just amazing. It felt like we'd never been away. Until I looked behind me and seen Graham and it wasn't Scott, and I'm like, oh, goodness sake, no, this is different.
But as you say, I mean, you actually said at the beginning of the interview, it's a natural progression of bands. Quite often, obviously, Lawrence replaced your original guitarist. Now you've got a new drummer, and as you say, it's just a natural progression that happens in bands. And the thing is, it moves on, and I dare say you guys will move on, and new music will come out, and years to come, this will be the lineup people remember. It's just how it happens. Yeah,
that's the thing, and I don't like to kind of dwell on things that have already happened, and so that's kind of the thing. And Graham's come into the studio with us, and instantly has been right involved, writing new songs with us, coming up with his own ideas, and he's kind of hit the ground running with us when we really didn't expect him to. Mm-hmm. We expected him to come in, play drums, and kind of find his feet, but he's really he's just came in and get stuck right into it, and that's what I love.
So now that you've got the lineup intact, you've got the new lineup in place, we're hopefully opening up again. What plans do you have for the future in terms of touring? You get any more tours booked? Do you get gigs booked? And obviously, on to album number 2. What is it they call that in the rock world? The sophomore album, is it?
That's right. Yes. Well, that's kind of the thing. So, we've got a few festivals. I'm gonna reference my phone, because if I don't, I'll get it wrong. So excuse me, sorry everyone. I know I'm supposed to know this off by heart, but I don't. So we have in October, we're playing Cornwall Rocks on the 16th of October. So if you're down in Cornwall, or if you're willing to travel down to Cornwall, we'll be there. And we've got a show in the Dreadnought in Bathgate on 23rd of October. Right. So that's going to be our first show in Scotland since everything locked down. So that's we're expecting that one to be a great fun, and we love playing in the Dreadnought as well. Like it's a venue that's really kind of championed us for a long time now. And then in November we've got Planet Rockstock, which we were supposed to play last year, that obviously fell through. So we're really excited about that one to actually get on there. I think this is going to be the first of Planet Rock's kind of, they do like Planet Rockstock, and they do Winter's End and Steelhouse and all those ones. So it's quite good that this is the first one of their sort of festivals that they put on that we're playing, and we always hear great things about them, and there's always great bands on. So we're looking forward to that one. And then we're making a triumphant return to Winterstorm Festival as well, which is fantastic. Again, another festival that's been fantastic for us and really built up our name and built up our fan base. So really excited to be back there. And then as I look through my calendar, that's everything until we're on tour with Ricky Warwick in March next year.
I forgot about that one. That was one that was announced and then delayed. Is that right?
That's right. I think it was supposed to be May last year. It was supposed to happen, and then obviously nothing's opened up, so it's had to be pushed back. And we do have, in the 27th of March, we're playing with Howling Tides, who were the main support to us on Saturday there. We're playing with them in Sheffield, a co-headline show down in Sheffield, so we're looking forward to that one as well.
So things are picking up again gig-wise, and I'm sure there'll be more to come.
It's nice. It's funny actually, just me looking through the Google Calendar there, because I wasn't looking through it for a while because it was absolutely depressing me. Because you're just looking at it, it's like, oh, reschedule, cancelled, rescheduled. But it's funny actually just looking through that there, because like on the Google Calendar, I don't know, do you use Google Calendar?
No. I'm terrible with calendars. It's something my wife is on to me about. I'm not organised in any way, shape or form.
You can like colour code things, so like there's a colour for like me if I'm like going to be away somewhere, if I'm going to be busy or whatever, and there's a colour for Matthew and Lawrence and Graham, and then the colour for gigs is pink, and so it's nice to just see all the wee pink strips on all the dates. We're on again. Coming up again, so that's good.
I just say you'll be using these shows to spring forward, obviously to get people back and reminding them what a great album Casino was, but also to start warming up and moving forward towards a new album. Is that a plan?
Yeah, well, that's kind of the discussion we're going to have. Is do we do an album? Do we maybe approach it in a different way? Because albums are kind of a you know, it's a popular thing in the rock community, but then outside of it, you watch, you know, if you watch someone like Lewis Capaldi, who obviously had a meteoric rise, he didn't bring out his album until, you know, I think he had 3 or 4 EPs, and he's kind of drip fed his fan base, and that's kind of something that we're interested in looking at and having conversations with people about. So, you know, yes, new music, but in what form it takes, we're yet to kind of decide. We're going to have a conversation and see what happens with that. There will be another album at some point. You know, you've got to do albums, but how we kind of get ourselves to that point is, you know, we're leaving ourselves open to that, because I think a lot of bands kind of go, you know, this is the way, and music is so, the music industry is so malleable at this point that I think you do need to kind of try and look at different things and different ways of doing things. But we've been writing so much new music, and we debuted a new song, kind of gave it a wee bit of a road test at the weekend there, and went down really, really well at both festivals. And it's one of those ones where when you road test a new song, and you either come off stage and went, we shouldn't have played that, wasn't ready, or you come off going, that was amazing, and that's when you know that song's ready.
And was it amazing?
Yeah, it was amazing.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good. I wasn't sure what route you were going to go down there, because you never answered initially. You just say, and then you go, but that is good. It was amazing.
Oh, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
But as you say, I mean, for a young band like yourself, it shows just how switched on you guys are, that you're obviously aware of the changes to the music industry. It's interesting you're saying about the drip feeding there. My wife's a massive Lewis Capaldi fan. I'll be honest with you, I can see the guy's talent, but it's just not my kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I wasn't aware that that's how he drip fed his music before the album. I didn't know that. But I remember, I think Skid Row did a similar thing years ago.
Yeah.
They started, it was like 4 tracks at a time in a CD. I think there was 3 released in the year. I think they did it that way. So as you say, it's a changing industry, and if you're switched on enough to see that, as you guys clearly are, that hopefully is going to pave the way for more success. Yeah,
I mean that you know, that's you know, that's the thing. We want to take Anchor Lane as far as it will go, and then take it beyond that. You know, that's the goal for us. We're passionate about this band. We want to make this band a success, and you know, I think that we've got the foundation there with Casino's, you know, if I do say so myself, a really great, strong debut album. You know, I'm immensely, you know, as are the rest of the boys, immensely proud of all the songs that are on that album. And you know, I think that I'm really glad we brought it out when we did, as much as we didn't get to tour it. But anytime someone over the past year and a half has discovered us, they've been able to go onto our social media, you know, go, they've got an album, Casino, and been able to listen to that, you know. And so what's that, you know, 10 tracks on Casino, the new tracks that we just brought out, the bonus tracks, excuse me, an extra 2 tracks. There's like, you know, 16 songs, including our EP, you know, that people can listen to. And you know, we've had messages from people saying, this song, you know, has really helped me get through this week, and you know, this song's been, you know, done this, and you know, it's amazing, you know. And from all over the world as well. We've got a few people who messages from America, Sweden, Australia, like places that you never thought your music would reach. So I just totally lost my train of thought there. I was going to say, that was it. I was going to say, but a miss of us then not to say to people how they can get a hold of the album. Obviously, we all know it's in streaming services, Spotify, Apple, etc. Somebody wants a physical copy, I dare say they can get into HMV and get it as well. But what obviously your website will be open too if people want to go in and get copies and T-shirts, etc. Is that still available? Yes. So if you go onto anchorlanemusic.com, there's a wee button there where you can click shop. And we've got the picture disc vinyl, which is in the shape of a Casino chip, which goes down really well with a lot of people. We've got the CD, we've got T-shirts, we've got patches. Actually, we've got patches that we just got made. I don't know if they're on the website yet. I imagine they are. Our team's pretty on point with that kind of thing. And yeah, there's probably other stuff on there as well that I've forgotten to mention. It's been a while since I've had to plug what's on the website.
And you personally, I mean, just to finish off, I know that you've been keeping yourself busy. You've been offering vocal coaching lessons and things like that too. Yeah, well, it was kind of the thing where, you know, I'd spent, let me think. So when it was 2017, end of 2017, I had a lot of problems with my voice. Turned out I've got chronic
inflammation on my voice. So it's just like constant sore throats, constant losing my voice and things like that, which for a singer's about the worst thing that you can possibly have to deal with. And kind of December 2017, my voice was in really kind of bad nick. And I thought I need to do something about this. And so I went to a vocal coach called Rico Frankie, and I spent about 2 years learning off of him, and really learned how to use my voice, how to maintain my voice. And it really got me through that, that 2018 where we played Download, Isle of Wight, Stone Free Festival. We did, played with Tremonti. We did a lot of really big, high profile gigs. We did a wee mini tour with Stone Broken as well, in 2019. And had I not learned the things that I learned from Rico in that 2 years, I probably wouldn't have got through, through those gigs, and Anchor Lane probably wouldn't be where it is, because it's like, oh, we're cancelling this gig because Conor can't speak, or and that's kind of the way it goes with singers. So I learned how to do that. I learned how to manage my voice, and then COVID hit, and I thought I need to figure out a way of making money that isn't Anchor Lane, because that was sort of the thing where, we're about to make some money because the album's come out, and things are going to start picking up, we're going to start touring and whatever else. Because when you're a musician, it's hard to have a normal job that just that's just 9 to 5, because can I get this week off, can I get that week off, can I get that? And then I've been down that road many times. And so I thought, do you know what, I'm going to work for myself. I've got that knowledge there that I can now impart onto other people, and it be something that's worthwhile doing. So it's been good. It's been something that's kept me busy as well, because I have, it's not just in the lesson that I'm talking to people, it's outside of the lesson I'm having to look at, well, this person needs to work on this part of their voice, whether it be their mixed voice, or it be their breath support, or other things like that. Sometimes a lot of people want to sing contemporary music, and a lot of people's contemporary singers' head voice is quite underdeveloped. So that's a lot of things that I work on, is helping develop the head voice and things like that. And so that's taken up a lot of my time as well, where I've had a lot of time to take up. And it's that's now another wee kind of side hustle for me. So
the main thing is that we've got the music industry back up and running, and I dare say as that happens, you'll have more people coming for vocal coaching, but I'm sure more importantly for you, Anchor Lane are going to get back out on the road, are going to get recording things again. Yeah, that's the thing, and it was something that I'm able to bring about that can work around Anchor Lane and work around me. So I am very happy. If you're interested, give me a shout. I know what I'm talking about. I don't know if you've ever heard me singing, Conor. So to finish up, Conor, there's a quote that I used. I'm just going to look at my own phone now. That was in the review when I'd written it for Rockfiend. It seems ages ago now. And it's a bit corny, but it's still going to stand for what I'm saying. I was basically saying, if the music business was an ocean, it would be quite stormy and unforgiving. And let's hope that this is one anchor that can hold firm and keep steady in the quest for success. And I think, Conor, especially when you speak to, you've spoken to you a few times in person, obviously this is the first time I've interviewed you, such. You're always a very grounded individual. I know the rest of the guys are very similar to you in that manner. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. You're all really, really nice guys. And that really, I think, it helps people to support you. People like to see good guys doing well. I think that's just a fact, particularly in Scotland. We've got a thing about watching the good guys doing well. And you guys always come across as a bunch of good guys. And I dare say that is an anchor that's holding firm, and we look forward to a lot more success for you guys in the future. Oh, thank you very much, Gareth. Just always try to be a nice person. And the thing is, if you're not, then people very quickly don't want to speak to you again. Absolutely. But it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you, Conor. It really has. So anybody watching this, if they've not held the album or heard the album, they'll go back and they'll check it out now. They'll listen to it. They might even go into the shop and buy the vinyl. I can assure you the vinyl's brilliant. I've got the picture disc myself. It's great. And if that switches people back onto your music and then go into your gigs, and that's exactly what we've set out to do today. It's certainly some success that you guys deserve. Yeah, thank you very much, Gareth. And if you feel like buying stuff, please do, because 16 months no gigs, man, we're poor. But get onto that website and buy some stuff. Please. Well, Conor, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Hopefully we'll see you at Winterstorm in November. The whole family event for us this year. I usually go with my oldest son, but my wife and my youngest son are making their Winterstorm debut this year as well.
Fantastic.
So we'll hopefully get to catch up with you at some point then, if not before then.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you then.
Take care, Conor. Thanks for speaking
to us. Bye-bye.